This is Jill Pack with the Seasons of Joy podcast, and this is episode number 75 entitled Connection. Are you a woman of faith who is struggling to navigate your current season of life? Do you feel like life is just happening to you instead of for you? My name is Jill Pack. I'm a certified life coach and a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I want you to know that no matter your season or circumstance, it is possible to create a more joyful life. And I would love to show you how. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Seasons of Joy podcast. I am excited to be here today for this episode. But before we get started, I wanted to remind you of the early bird pricing that I have available for an awakening retreat that I am holding October 5th through 7th in Garden City, Utah, near Bear Lake. This early bird pricing allows you to save $100 on your registration, and this pricing is available until midnight on August 31st. So grab a friend and come enjoy this opportunity to refocus, reconnect, and rejuvenate so that you can step back into your life with confidence. I'm also doing something even more fun to celebrate my 75th episode of this podcast. I am offering a 50% discount of the full price to someone who does the following. 1, leave a rating and review on the podcast episode, this podcast episode number 75, and then mention 3 friends on a Facebook and or Instagram post for this 75th episode. Those 2 things will get you an opportunity to win that 50% discount, and that will be announced on Friday, September 1st on my social media accounts. I would love to have you join us for this amazing experience. We have 4 workshops where you will learn practical tools to help you in your life. We also have an amazing guest speaker that I'm so excited to share with you. Her name is Amber Williams, and she's going to be talking about her incredible story of faith, resilience, determination, and choosing how to live amongst the challenges of being a burn victim. We will also be offering yoga and meditation as part of this experience by my talented friend, Shelly Bowman. If you are interested in the early bird pricing or the giveaway, just click the links in the show notes, and we would love to have you join us. Now on to today's episode. On this week's episode, I want to talk about the idea of connection. One of the main reasons that I have decided to do retreats was because I wanted to provide an opportunity for women to connect with themselves, with other women, and with God. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to lose sight of the importance of human connection. We're constantly on our phones, our laptops, our tablets, all in the name of staying connected. But are we really connecting? Connection is a fundamental human need, and we each are divinely designed for connection. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, just behind physiological needs such as air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction, as well as the need for safety such as personal security, employment, resources, health, property, comes the need for love and belonging. A sense of connection. It's what makes us feel alive, valued, and loved. Studies have shown that people who have strong connections with others are happier, healthier, and even live longer. But in today's society, true connection seems to be harder and harder to come by. I was recently reading an article in Psychology Today by Dr. Emma Sapala. She is a lecturer at the Yale School of Management. And as I was reading about this idea of connection, I found some fascinating points that Dr. Sapala makes, and I wanted to touch on them today. So I have put a link to this article in the show notes. This article references a study that shows the lack of social connection has a greater negative impact on our health than obesity, smoking, and high blood pressure. But when we have a strong social connection, there is a 50% increased chance of longevity. Social connections strengthen our immune system, foster faster recovery from disease, and even help us live longer. There are also studies that show lower rates of anxiety and depression, as well as higher self-esteem, being more empathetic to others, more trusting, and more cooperative. Connectedness creates improved well-being overall. Sadly, the opposite is true when there is disconnection. According to this same article, there is a decrease in social connection in the U.S., and it's happening at an alarming rate. Many people are referring to it as a loneliness epidemic. This same article refers to a study that was done in relation to how many people someone felt like they could talk to or confide in about a personal problem. In 1985, Americans claimed to have only 3 people that they could confide in. In 2004, it dropped to 1 person that they could confide in. The study also showed that 25% of Americans said that they had no one to confide in. This survey suggests that 1 in 4 people that we meet may have no one that they call a close friend. It's no wonder people feel lonely. Another study I found states that over 3 in 5 Americans feel lonely. Brené Brown is a professor who studies and specializes in vulnerability and social connection at the University of Houston Graduate College of Social Work. In an interview with the author of this article, she said, "A deep sense of love and belonging is an irresistible need of all people. We are biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to love, to be loved, and to belong. When those needs are not met, we don't function as we were meant to be. We break, we fall apart, we numb, we ache, we hurt others, we get sick. This is fascinating to me. Believing that we are loved and that we belong affects our health in profound ways." Dr. Sapala also mentions that the most interesting data-driven fact about connection is that it has nothing to do with the number of friends you hang out with, connections on Facebook, or the amount of community groups to which you belong. If you're a loner or an introvert, you can still reap the benefits. What if it's because a sense of connection comes from within? Just before my mother's passing a few years ago, my father moved in with my older sister who lives nearby. To ensure that he was not alone, my other sister and I would go visit him frequently. He enjoyed bowling, so we made it a weekly event. We also arranged for home health care providers to take him out for a few hours each day, often to go bowling as well. He loved bowling, and he was able to maintain this routine even at the age of 91, which is actually pretty amazing. Our goal was to keep him active and engaged while also spending quality time with him. However, I remember one day my 2 sisters and I were together, and my older sister, who my dad was living with at the time, said that her next-door neighbor had observed my dad in their backyard a few days earlier. He was outside with my sister and some of her family, and this neighbor described our dad as looking lonely while being surrounded by people. We can be surrounded by people and still be lonely. Have you ever felt lonely in a crowd or a group of your own acquaintances, like my dad? Dr. Sapala said this: "Researchers agree that the benefits of connection are actually linked to your subjective sense of connection. In other words, if you feel connected to others on the inside, you reap the benefits thereof. In the same way, it is possible to feel connected in a group of strangers. That is such good news. While many of us cannot always control the number of friends we have, one thing we can take responsibility for is the state of our mind. This supports what I teach all the people I work with. Connection is an emotion that is created by what we are thinking and believing. Even if we are alone a lot of the time, we can generate feelings of connection to others and to ourselves and to God. It's possible to create and nurture our feelings of connection on the inside. And I believe it begins with looking at and understanding what you are believing about yourself, about those around you, and about God. In Brené Brown's book, Atlas from the Heart, she says this: true belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. She goes on to say this: because we can feel belonging only if we have the courage to share our most authentic selves with people, our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. A lack of self-acceptance disconnects us not only from ourselves, but from others and even from God. This disconnection breeds that desire to fit in, a counterfeit belonging. It's easy to believe that it's up to other people to make us feel connected, that we belong. But if we are waiting for other people to take responsibility for this, we may be waiting around for a long time. Or we may always feel disappointed with how other people are choosing to include or interact with us. We find ourselves sitting on the sidelines of our life, wishing it was different and believing that it can never change. Feelings of connection and belonging are created by the beliefs we have about ourselves and others. This is the best news ever. We can create greater feelings of connection and belonging when we are ready. And this happens by changing some of our beliefs. However, I want to be clear here. Of course, the way we treat each other matters. We all have had experiences where people have mistreated us or were unkind to us. This hurts, and it does affect us. The way we see ourselves, others, and the world are shaped from these experiences. But when you are ready, you can begin to discover that you truly belong, and it starts by first accepting yourself. Understanding our identity is one of the most important steps in connection. There are 2 points I want to make here. First, we are all divine sons and daughters of heavenly parents who love us. And second, we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. Brené Brown talks about how understanding our shared humanity helps us see that we all belong and that our belonging isn't in jeopardy. She says true belonging doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. When we step into our true identity as children of God, we strengthen our sense of connection and belonging, and we are better able to reach outside of ourselves to connect with others. By choosing to belong, we are better able to create opportunities for others to step into their belonging. I don't know if that makes sense, but by nurturing our belonging, we invite belonging and connection with others. Let's look at some examples. When I believe that I'm not good enough, I feel shame. I'm believing that something is wrong with me as a person. And this belief and the feeling of shame keep me from truly being myself, which disconnects me from myself and from others. I withdraw, I separate myself from other people, which only creates greater disconnection. However, when I believe that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, just like everyone else on the planet, I feel acceptance and belonging. I'm believing that it's about progress, not perfection, and that we're all in this together as one big human family. I allow myself to be vulnerable and a little uncomfortable as I navigate really being present as myself with the people in my life, living in alignment with my ideals and my values. That just feels better. Now, when I believe that other people are judging me and leaving me out, I feel excluded. This may cause me to try to fit in by trying to be more like someone else instead of myself. I'm seeking the acceptance of others, and I pick myself apart, and I focus on all the flaws of others and of myself. This is disconnecting and feels terrible because I'm not being who I really am. I'm judging myself, and I'm judging others that I believe are judging me, and I'm doing the very thing that I'm accusing them of. However, when I believe that I'm not necessarily for everyone, and that's okay, I feel a confident self-acceptance. I'm confident in who I am and what my ideals and values are, regardless of what others think. I make decisions and act in ways that are aligned with the values and ideals that are important to me. This confident self-acceptance helps me to connect with myself, which also helps me see the humanities in others, which invites connection. Creating greater connection with ourselves and others really is an inside job. It requires us to be vulnerable and to step into some self-confidence, allowing yourself to be your true self around others while at the same time being willing to feel any emotion in the process. That's true self-confidence. This isn't easy, and as Brené Brown says, it takes courage. But are you up for the challenge? What would your life be like if you could be courageous enough to be vulnerable and uncomfortable on your way to creating greater connection in your life? Creating greater connection can feel uncomfortable in the beginning, for sure. But that's where true growth and becoming happens. It takes practice. It takes being intentional. Connection does not just happen. It really is a choice. So what are you going to choose today? That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here, and have a joyful week. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you hear, I would love it if you would share it with your friends and family and leave me a rating and review. If you'd like to learn more about what life coaching is, please schedule a free discovery call with me where we can work together through something that's causing you a problem. Just go to my website, seasons-coaching.com, and you can also find information about my Seasons of Joy one-on-one coaching program and my Seasons of Joy community. Have a joyful week, and I'll see you next time.